So welcome, guys. We're here at the Greatness Factory today with Coach Burt. Coach Burt is a specialist in packaging ideas. He is one of our coaches at Alliance Engineering and Consulting. And it's just a pleasure to be here today. Coach, I'd love to hear a little bit more about the Greatness Factory and everything you're doing.
Well, I was a women's basketball coach for 13 years. And moms and dads would bring their kids to me when they were 14 years old. And they all said the same thing. Coach, my daughter has a lot of potential. She just needs whatever. They would say confidence, discipline, focus, accountability. And I would say thank you for bringing your daughter to the Greatness Factory, where we are going to manufacture her greatness. Okay, so that was decade one of my professional career. Right. Retired to start a coaching company, which became a multi-million-dollar coaching company. And then along the way, I go, you know what? I like this idea of the Greatness Factory. What if we built a Greatness Factory for adults, where they could manufacture their greatness? That's kind of a vision God gave me in 2016. It took me about 8 years to pull this off. Yeah. So now you're standing in that vision. I say it just started with an idea, a simple idea. Now we built it out, co-working on level 1, private offices on level 2. Then you have like what I call the Disneyland for business adults on level 3. Theater, state-of-the-art theater, podcast studios, Dream Foundry, Money Lab. It's where the magic happens. So work here, learn here, grow here, connect here. And it's where inspiration meets execution.
Coach, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you have done that a few times because that was really well done.
Thank you.
I don't think you breathed, but that was impressive, man. I mean, going back to your coaching days, I guess, you know, who was your favorite player as a basketball coach? And I mean, is there one in particular that just kind of stands out?
Yeah, she was so good. I tried to name my first child after her. If that's how it tells you how good she was. My wife did not go for that, by the way. She's like, we're not naming our kid after you're one of your players. And I'm like, but she scored 4,000 points. There's a girl named Anne-Marie Lanning. Anne-Marie Lanning played for me, started as a freshman, and had been playing since she was 4 or 5 years old. Just a tough kid. She literally did score 4,000 points. She became a Miss Basketball, which is voted the best player, the number one best player in the state of Tennessee.
Right.
And she was a kid who would say to me, just give me the basketball.
Yeah.
I'll score the next 6 possessions.
I love that.
And she would. And coachable, hungry, humble, teachable, alert, curious, responsive. And I'm like, that kid, right? She went to Middle Tennessee State and played 4 years there. I mean, just an incredible kid too. Not just a great player, but a great kid.
Was she your most talented kid?
No.
Yeah.
By far, not the most talented kid. She compensated with what I would call competitive intelligence. Just a know-how of knowledge, skill, desire, confidence, and put all that together. And that's kind of where I started coming up with the term competitive intelligence, which is like the combination of intelligences put together that kind of gives you an advantage over your competition.
Right. Yeah, and I've always found that interesting, with people, that most of the, what I would say, successful people that you see, and I'm talking about the real successful people, not the people that pretend to be successful, and there's a lot of them. I mean, hey, listen, I'm not against fake it till you make it either, but you know what I'm saying. But the people that are usually the most successful are the ones that are not the most talented. Yeah. It's the ones that just never quit, and they keep going, and they continue to just evolve and change their routines and figure out what their weak points are and get it to the level and just continue to increase and increase.
Yeah.
So to that point, who was your most frustrating player as a coach?
Well, that's an easy answer too. There's a lot of people that are naturally talented, and you would say more talented than others, but didn't have what I call pre-drive to, back it up. So they never really worked the muscle. They never really did what they were capable of doing, right?
Yeah.
And something you said triggered, because I know your concept is undeniable, right? That's a big concept with you. When you study the habits of the top 1% of performers, remarkable boldness, intrinsic motivation, great connection skills, ability to lock in and see something through to its conclusion, and grit and resilience, right? Every study in the world shows us that grit and resilience is actually the number one indicator for success.
Right.
But I was with Price Pritchett last week, who's this great psychologist who wrote U Squared and Quantum Thinking, and he interviewed people for jobs, like executive jobs, right? And he worked for a guy, and the guy would always say, tell me about his enthusiasm. Tell me about his attitude.
Yeah.
And that guy rated attitude over every skill that you could have on an assessment. So when I think about remarkable boldness, intrinsic motivation, ability to lock in, grit and resilience, that kind of builds this undeniable concept, right? Like I'm going to lock in. I'm going to see it through to its conclusion. Now, tell me what school in America that's being taught.
None.
Okay. And the reason, and so
I would say indirectly, potentially a military school. I went to VMI, and I think the Virginia Military Institute, for those that don't know, but the main reason that we went there is I know that's where God wanted me to go.
Yes.
But the fact that I went through there, did baseball, got an engineering degree, dealt with the military part of it, indirectly, it just teaches you either quit or you, there's no going home.
Right.
And I mean, there is, but for me, that wasn't an option because I didn't want to hear everybody be like, told you.
You didn't make it,
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you couldn't do it. I knew you couldn't do it. And that was the other reason why I stuck with engineering too, because our freshman year, our rat year, it's the hardest part, and back then it was pretty rough. Of course, if you talk to anybody that graduated 20 years before me, then it was rougher and so on and so forth. But that year showed me what I was capable of.
Right.
But I remember after our rat year, the year coming back, especially the baseball players, I think there were 3 or 4 of us that were in engineering, and every single one of them except for me transferred out of engineering. But what I told myself was, let's just approach this from a smart standpoint. Let's just do it one at a time. We know the spring's going to be tough. So let's just try to get our GPA up in the fall. And, you just got to make sacrifices.
Right.
That's just that mindset that you're talking to. And I've often wondered, where is that built? Because I think that mindset's built, especially at a young age. A lot of these kids that have a lot of talent. Now, we have 3 kids, and, they are what I would say they're immature for their age. And hopefully that this doesn't embarrass them. But, they really had to work to keep up at a young age. And I always encouraged them to just stick with it. Where there were those kids who could just overpower. And so they didn't have to quite work as hard. And I think when they get older, it's hard for them to realize that, hey, I got to work hard. I think if you learn to work hard at a young age, it transitions into your life as well. And then as you get older, I've done a lot of studies on the mental preparation and the mental mindset that goes into high achieving people. And when I kind of boil it all down, it comes down to comfort zones and the ability to get out of your comfort zone time and time again. So when you look at that, what is comfort zone? And really, it's the feel-good hormones in your brain. It's the dopamine and the serotonin and all those things that when you get out of your comfort zone, you lose them.
Right.
And so a lot of people want to stay in that comfort zone because it's comfortable.
That's right.
But I guess from that perspective, I think that's why you see a lot of these kids that have it tougher young end up succeeding later on, because if you have that mindset, I don't care what you do, you're going to do okay at it. Or at least God's going to find you a dream that you're going to succeed at.
That's right.
So,
well, I think the comfort zone is the death zone. Right. And when I wrote Flip the Switch, I deconstructed the top 20 motivational theories. I codified those theories, and I basically they all say the same thing. We move toward things we want. What happens when we have everything we want is we become complacent, which is a gradual settling to a place of mediocrity. Mediocre means halfway up the mountain. Go halfway up the mountain. So when I put it like that, like the comfort zone is a death zone. It's a place you don't want to end up, because if you study complacency, because that was kind of the overarching problem I was trying to solve. Right. I always joke and say this is not the complacency factory. The doors at the complacency factory are wide open. Okay. If you notice downstairs, the doors are locked and not everybody can get in here.
That's right.
And so, but I found a definition of complacency that is a general unawareness that you have kind of satisfied, and that becomes dangerous to your future. There's an opportunity that comes along that you're not ready for because you got complacent. And you didn't even know it. You had an unawareness, right? You didn't even know that you didn't know. So it's like, how do you activate that drive? Exposure activates the drive. So when I think about your vision with Undeniable, what you're trying to do, if it's take young people, right? Kind of like that, just exactly what you said. When you go to the military, there's a structure. When you go play for a great coach, there's a structure, right? And that structure kind of brings discipline. It brings a structure to you that you need
Right.
whether you like it or not.
Yep.
Right? I don't know, the players didn't always love me when they were playing for me, but they're like, man, that dude brought a structure to me and an expectation, and I had to show up.
Well, discipline infers love. And I
Yeah.
mean, that's biblical as well.
That's right.
But the world has taught people and kids that discipline is not a good thing, or uncomfortability is not a good thing. And it's the opposite of that, to your point. So what great coaches do is they instill discipline, and they teach kids the right way to go about their path. And that's kind of like our dream with Undeniable, and, developing a, what I would say, undeniable mindset. You can, and I'm going to pun on this. I mean, you can not pun on this, but you can engineer that.
Yeah.
You can. And I mean, we've talked a lot about personality profiling and figuring out the, driver, influencer, steady, analytical mindset, and then even going deeper and figuring out the whys behind it. Yeah. And so if you can take a person and get their personality profile and figure out where their weaknesses are, you can literally engineer a plan, a discipline plan that I call Championship Day. And, we're going to talk about it at our Undeniable Summit that we do here in January. But you can engineer a plan that gives people process-related things they can tackle daily, not results-oriented, but process-oriented things that they can knock out that allow them to win that day, whether they get crushed that day or not, because you're not going to win every day from a result standpoint.
Right.
But there are process things that you can build the momentum in your life.
Yeah.
And I think great coaches help people build momentum. Yeah. And when they build momentum, you get kind of addicted to it.
Yes.
And you keep going.
Yes.
And that's what coaches do. And then great coaches, the best, give them the freedom to continue to build.
That's right. Well, I think, discipline, derivative of the word disciple, which means to give yourself to a person or cause you believe in. And I always ask people, do you believe in your future? And they say yes. And I say, well, where does your future live? And they say, well, some people go here. And then they go, no, it lives in my imagination. I can't see your future.
Right.
Okay. But so the question will be, will you become self-disciplined to that future or not?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think when you're trying to build these structures, it's like people come into these structures, you can manufacture their greatness. Now, I use a word, and I wrote down from your young lady I was talking to here, inner engineering. Okay. And inner engineering was what I was doing with the players from 4 perspectives: body, mind, heart, and spirit.
Yeah.
Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Okay. Building those 4 dimensions of their nature. Yeah. Right. And so,
say that one more time.
Well, there's 4 dimensions to their nature. There's physical, there's mental, there would be emotional, there'd be spiritual.
Yeah,
right?
Gotcha.
And you can develop those 4 dimensions.
Yeah.
So a good coaching program, a good training program would have something: skill. You grow the skill, that'd be the body. You grow the knowledge, that'd be the mind.
Yeah.
You grow the passion, or what I call prey drive, that'd be the heart.
Yeah.
And you grow the confidence, that'd be the spirit. Right?
Yeah.
4 parts of a nature.
Yep.
And it could be faith that you enhance, right, in those 4 parts. Now, that's who I studied under from 18 to 25 was Covey. Everything Covey did was whole person theory. And so I went back and go, okay, I'm going to grow all 4 parts of the player's nature, which was totally different than any other coach. Other coaches would yell at people and say, get motivated or do this. And they would think that was like developing players.
Well, and I mean, we all know where motivation gets you.
Yeah.
It's not motivation you need. It's more discipline you need.
Motivation starts it and discipline finishes it. So I think, when you're thinking about inner engineering, when your term, because like this, today there was a guy here who put the steel in. He's in our coaching program. You probably met him. And he actually put the steel in this building because what you see here started in my mind. We go there. All things are created twice, first mentally, then physically, right?
Yep.
Like I drew this Greatness Factory up in 2016. If you saw the original plans for the original Greatness Factory, you could see that it had almost every component that this has, except it had a gym. And the only reason I couldn't put a gym here because I didn't have enough space to put a gym.
Well, to that point, let's talk about visualization really quick, because I remember I was at one of your events and I'm sitting up there, and I should have been paying attention, but I was drawing like our future facility. And visualization is such a powerful thing.
Yep.
And I think that there's a lot of things. I mean, if you want to look at it from a scientific standpoint, it activates your reticular activating system. It makes you start looking for opportunities. But beyond that, I think there's a spiritual side to it as well, where you're literally building where you're going.
That's right.
And so I took that drawing And I send it to Leon, and I send it to you, and I send it to a number of other people because I love to go ahead and put it out there, because then that puts it on me to be like, let's go after this.
That's right.
But, you know, further taking it a step to where you have time set aside, and I'm assuming, I want to hear your input on this. Like, I set aside time every morning to go through my vision board of where I want to see my family go. Because like you're 4, I have 5. And this is part of our teaching at Alliance. It's part of the Undeniable Summit, but, you know, spiritually, mentally, physically, personally, professionally. Those are the 5 areas that we grow, because as a business, obviously professional is kind of important. You got to have money for the mission.
That's right.
But I'd love to hear your input on visualization, what you do.
Well, I do an exercise called A to B, right? I wrote a small book on this called From A to B. And to me, when I wrote the book, Flip the Switch, chapter 2 is the science behind what goes on in the mind, the subconscious brain, right? Because when you tell the brain what you want to do, it starts moving toward that. The brain is lazy. It actually will just go do the same thing every day. It will take the same path to work. It'll take the path of least resistance until you tell it what you want it to do. And once you say, this is what I want to do, right? So then I said, how can I make this simple for people? A is where you are. B is where you're trying to get to. What has to happen in between A and B? And I ask people, what's your B? And they'll go, I don't know. And I'm like, no, let's get clear. Then I start calling it the NBO, the next big opportunity. Like, what is your NBO? And well, the NBO, if life was as close to perfect, I would have this, and I would have this, and I'd be doing this, and we'd be doing these things. I'm like, okay, that's a mental creation, right? And if you have the gift of vivid visualization, that's could be used constructively. It can be used destructively, right? So you could get into catastrophizing when you don't move toward that. Or you can get into, okay, what's the next thing I can do, which is take a physical action. So when you drew that up in our coaching program, and the truth is,
by the way, they look like the Death Star, I was told by other people.
Well, I think it's great, but you said you weren't paying attention, but you were paying attention because something activated that inside of you to draw up there. That's going there in the mind. Okay, that's mental creation. Physical creation is, okay, I'm at A and I'm trying to get to B, and B is I have this whole thing. I have this whole campus, and this is what we're doing. Well, physical action is, what's the next physical action I can take? Next physical action is, okay, I draw it up. This is what it's going to be. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. Okay, who can help me do it? Next physical action is I get it into place. I'm going to have a conference. See, these are all physical actions. And a lot of people live in mental creation. And then when nothing happens, they move to catastrophizing, which is going to negative town. And I joke with my 12-year-old daughter that nothing good happens in negative town.
I literally have a reminder on my morning. Like, I have a reminder thing in the morning because, man, you get twisted up during the day. You know, and that's what Satan's job is, man. He wants to kill, steal, and destroy. He's really good.
He's good at his job.
It's tough. So in the mornings when I wake up, I literally have an entire list of reminders, whether it's scripture, but one of them is, Josh, it's never as good or as bad as you think.
That's right.
Because we always want to live in extremes.
That's right.
And so you got to find, what's the truth. That's right. So it helps me find the truth. But my issue has always been a lot of ideas. And this goes back to the personality assessment side of things too. I'm a very high D, very high I. If you don't know what that is, and I know you do, but very high drive, very high influencer, extroverted. But I have a lot of ideas. So I would have a really good idea. But the timing wasn't right. So when I was younger, I would just try to kick a door down instead of letting God open the door and me be prepared for it. Because honestly, if you ain't got it, it's because you ain't ready for it, or you don't need it. That's low East Tennessee slang for you. But anyways, so when you have the personality assessment of a young man or woman, and you actually have a mentor say, because we can talk about this in a second as well, but mentorship is really what's missing in business, period. But you have a good mentorship program, you can really help these people find and build the banks for the river of their life and get them in a directional flow. When I was young, it was very wide, it was very shallow, and it weaved all over the place. It was scary. I mean, I moved to Vegas for 3 years. But when you get a young person like that, who's still, what I want to say, flexible. I mean, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's the truth. You can really help them build very deep, strong banks for their river, for their life, that just carries on a legacy for their entire family. But I would love to hear kind of your thoughts on current shape. I mean, to me, one of the biggest things that's missing in business, period, and why you've seen such a huge jump and spike in business coaches is just general business mentorship. And so I feel like that's a big thing that's missing in the world today. It's all about me. It's all about getting mine, and it's not about bringing up that next generation of leaders, which to me is more fulfilling and really what's been pushing what we're doing at Alliance.
Yes. Yep. Well, I think when you're thinking about general mentorship, for some reason, we think of young people as having coaches, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and you have children and they played for coaches. And let me ask you this question. I always say, who's coaching your kids is more important than who the president of the United States is. They got more influence. They got more impact. They're going to spend more time with them.
Yeah.
Okay. So who's coaching your kids is very important.
Right.
Okay. Well, then why don't we think about that with adults? You know, I was speaking on a cruise just a few weeks ago, and every top leader in the company was on stage. The other people were in the audience.
Yeah.
The common denominator between every person on the stage who was given their knowledge, skill, desire, and confidence to other people was they all had great coaches.
Yeah.
They had all been well coached by some of the best coaches in the world.
Right.
Okay, so somewhere along the way, adults don't get this. They go, well, why would I need a coach? It's like, I'm doing good, right? It's like they don't think of it like in sports. It's like my daughter wants to be a gymnast. You know, she may have the skill to go be like really great. Okay.
That's awesome.
So I'm like, you need extra coaching.
Yeah.
You need one-to-one lessons. You need to be coached by the best person. You need to go find the best. We need to find the best people in the world for you. That's our job as your parent, to put you in a position to be successful, right? Well, we need to think the same way about our teams. And, you know, I was coaching a CEO this morning about a $20 million company. And he was telling me how he wanted these certain people on his team to get better. And I said, have they ever had any coaching? And he said, no. And I said, well, how do you think they're not magically going to get better?
Absolutely.
Okay. Here's what I said. That person doesn't know how to.
Yeah.
You could come in every day and say, look, I need you to have a better attitude. I need you to do this. I need you to do this. They don't know how to do that.
They don't.
So the mentorship, the business mentorship. Now, what if I got these lessons from 18 to 24?
Oh, man.
What if I come with batteries included? What if you just study, because I study all the statistics, 18 to 30, changing jobs 24 to 37 times.
Yeah.
If you look at what they lack, right? Pray drive, follow through, listen to their feelings too much. So these are problems that just shows me they've never been taught these things.
That's
Okay.
right.
So if there was somewhere to go, so it's like, why don't somebody do this? Well, colleges are not equipped to do this. I went to college for 9 years. And it's like nowhere in all those years did I learn the things I teach to people.
Right.
And you say, well, why not? I mean, and I don't know what the answer is to that question. It's a good question, right?
Right.
So people have to go somewhere and get this.
Yep.
Now the question is, how early? Now you said something earlier that triggered something in me. Jeff Coven wrote a book called Talent is Overrated. And the book's argument is people are just not born more talented than other people.
That's right.
Okay. So he makes the argument that if we find our talents early in life, let's use a different word, because in the Bible, a talent was a sum of money, right? In the parable of the talents, which is something I teach from a lot. But
call it a spiritual gift.
That's right. Each person has a gift,
Yeah.
an ability. What if I found that ability when I was 6 years old? Because when I look back, one of my coaches said, when you grow up at 6 years old, she said, when you grow up, you're going to be a great coach. I heard this all throughout my childhood. My high school coach called me professor. I kept hearing it. You're going to be a great coach. So what did I believe? I'm going to be a great coach.
Absolutely.
So at 15 years old, I started coaching. So I found what I wanted to do with my life at 15.
Right.
By the time I was 22, I'd been doing it for 7 years.
Right.
By the time I'm 48 now, okay, I've been doing it, 33 years. So he makes an argument in
It's
this.
what we call a pro.
That's right. He makes an argument in the book that it's not that people are more talented than other people. It's actually they just found their gifts earlier and they had a longer cycle of practice.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods was on a golf course at 7 months old. Mozart was playing music at 2. I saw Taylor Swift singing in Titan Stadium at 13. That was 20 years ago. And I told my buddy, I said, I don't think she's going to make it, man. She's just not that good. Boy, was I wrong, right? So the truth is, how good would you be if you did something for 20 years in front of 50,000 people a night? How good would you be at it?
And I think the thing that great coaches do and great mentors, whatever, is they teach them what's fulfilling. You know, I think to your point earlier, you said, you know, that a lot of kids, they jump around jobs and this and that. And it's because of one thing. It's because of fulfillment.
Yeah.
You know, they're being taught all the wrong things that are fulfilling in life because the people that are teaching them are chasing the same thing.
Yep.
You know, and so like with what we're pushing, and this really boils into the mentorship. And I think anytime you mentor somebody, and a lot of people think of mentorship as let's get them motivated. That's not mentorship. Motivation is an emotion. It comes and it goes.
Yep.
Mentorship is accountability. It's discipline. It's all those things that the world tells you is just not a good thing.
That's right.
But that takes a lot of energy. But here's the great thing about being a mentor is if you're doing a mentorship right, it's way more fulfilling than making money or any other crap that you're chasing after. So what we're really pushing at Alliance and like what I talk to a lot of business owners and when I talk to young men and women that come in for an interview is the way to find fulfillment in any business, because you can be the best engineer in the world, okay? But engineering at some point is going to get boring too. But here's where you can find it is if you find that young man or woman, you mentor them and you teach them all those things that got you to where you're at. And you teach them in a way less time frame. You get to live all that over again. You get to live vicariously through them. You get that fulfillment of seeing them prosper, which is just so much more fulfilling.
Yeah.
And so if you'll change your focus from let's get money and let's get growth and this and that to let me be the best person I can be.
Yeah.
And as I've heard this before, I think it was Andy Frisella talk about just being personally excellent, trying to make everybody around you better in your life, creating a gravity to your life that attracts just awesome people because it's just like, you know, physics, in physics with planets, the larger the object, the higher the gravitational pull. It's the same thing with your life. As you increase your mass as a person, your gravitational pull, your ability to pull bigger, stronger, better people to you is going to be that much more. So when you can do that and have this huge influence of sphere, you know, around you, that's where fulfillment lies. And that's where I think one of the best things that happened to me was when we started having kids. Because I realized that I've got this discipleship opportunity in my life. I need to be as good as I can be and set an example for them.
Right.
And then really that just kind of started this journey of making myself better and learning discipline and getting back into physical fitness. And honestly, physical fitness is probably the best thing you can start to do to work on the comfort zone feeling and getting outside of your comfort zone. And so I've always told people, if you want to start on this journey, we got to get you in physical fitness, which is why with the company, we've got a personal trainer. I've been working with him for 7 years. And so I approached him the other day and I'm like, well, this wasn't the other day, it's a few months ago, because this has always been my dream. And I'm like, Zach, I want you to do a group fitness class for the people at our company. And he looked at me and he goes, that's a great idea. And I said, how much is that going to cost? Give me a price. I want to start in a month. And so now we've got people from our office going and training with him twice a week. Some of them, I'm not even sure they've been in a gym before, man. One of them actually got on a squat rack backwards. It's okay. We don't make fun, but he gets them in there. And here's the beautiful thing about it. You know, if you're one of these people who has a bear at home, they want you at home from work, this gives you an opportunity to say, hey, it's for work, honey, I got to go. Or if you're one of those people that likes the interaction, you know, you don't really go for the workout. It's just kind of a byproduct. It's a great culture builder. If you like to go work out, it's great for that too. So we've really been trying to create a culture at Alliance where, you know, we're developing them in a indirect manner that brings them fulfillment and joy. And that, you know, to what you were talking about earlier about mentorship, and what really good mentors do is they help people find what's fulfilling for their life, which is what you found, I think, in coaching. You love it. I can tell you love it. I mean, you barely sleep, from what I understand.
I mean, I do. I think if you took coaching away from me, I'd be miserable. As hard as it is, it's tough. It's a tough profession to go into because you're taking on a lot of people. It's almost like a pastor of a church. You know, you have a burden to help a lot of people in a good way. But you know, I was thinking about something you said there. you could be a successful failure. The world's going to
Yeah.
tell you success is money and fame and looks and power and education, and you're going to have all these things, you'll be successful.
Yeah.
Right? And I think, Covey used to say success in one role doesn't justify failure in another role.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm watching this guy. He was a teacher. He said, I was teacher of the year, but I wasn't father of the year.
Yeah.
I was coach of the year, but I wasn't husband of the year.
And why do you think that is? Is it they're trying to create balance, or
I mean, I think obsessed people who have a personality style similar to yours, similar to mine.
Yeah.
We lock into something, and it's like we become myopic in how we approach it. And
sure.
and some of that, from 19 to 31, I didn't have friends, family, kids. I was married to winning. And it took me 13 years, and we built a national powerhouse, and I wouldn't change any of it, right?
Yeah.
But there was no balance.
Right.
It was 6:30 in the morning, sleep at my office until we were the best, right?
Yeah.
And I look back on that and go, was it too aggressive? Was it too much? Was I too hard on the players? And, part of me is like, well, we wouldn't have built what we built if we weren't that dedicated. Now, step back. I have 3 kids. I have a wife. I look for how do we intentionally congruent. How do we build this life?
Yeah.
Where everybody's involved and engaged and using their talents. And I'm at my daughter's football game tonight, and she's a cheerleader. And of all things, my daughter became a cheerleader. I was a girls basketball coach for all these years, and my daughter said she wanted to be a cheerleader, and I said, great, but if you're going to be great at it.
So let me ask you this: do you like it when they do sports that you don't know that well?
I think about all those years. Because my wife was saying this morning before I left, it's like she's got to be there at 5:00 and it don't start till 6:30. And I'm like, that was me. I was the coach saying you got to be there an hour and a half before the game.
Yeah.
I'm like, sweetheart, this is what you do. There's pregame meal, and they got to get ready, and they got to get their mind, they got to stretch, right? As a parent, all those years, it was like, you're on their schedule.
Yeah.
But that's what it takes. So I tell my daughter, if you're going to do it, be great at it.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, be committed to it. If you want to go pro at it someday and be a college gymnast, what do college gymnasts eat? How do they
100%.
sleep? How do they exercise? Right?
Yeah.
And they're not complaining, and they're not whining. They're not making excuses. It's like, if you want to be great at it, let's be great at it.
Well, and I know you well enough now, too. It's not about the sports. For me, too, it's about teaching someone how to give everything that they have into something and learning what it takes to be great, no matter what it is. And it's everything that you tie into it. And so you mentioned earlier about, we were talking about balance. And so I learned this, it's probably been about a year ago. I was talking with somebody about it, and we started talking about the proper term isn't balance, it's harmony.
Yeah.
And so what you're trying to find in your life is harmony. And the only way to find harmony is by figuring out, what am I going to put into that bucket? And it's going to be seasons. And when you say that, then whoever's involved in that bucket, you be very clear and communicative on if it's a personal and it's your family, you say, look, honey, we're going to go out to dinner every other Friday night. And you do it.
Right.
I'm not going to be home at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. I'm going to be home at 8 o'clock a lot of these times. Or if it's with your kids, I'm going to be, we have 3 kids. I think you do too.
Yep.
If you're going to say, I'm going to be at this sporting event, you be there.
That's right.
Right? But you set expectations, and then you just live by them, and you can always adjust them. But I was trying to live life like balanced, and you can't do it that way. It's impossible. You're going to let yourself down time and time again. So, we talk a lot about harmony, with the company and then also with the kids, because like our middle, she is very high D. Second highest, I think our youngest he's like me, God bless him. But she puts a lot of pressure on herself and a lot of expectations. Yeah. And so we always talk about, look, worry about what God thinks, then yourself, and don't worry about what other people think, because typically they don't have an issue with you. They have an issue with something else they got going on with their life. Right. So the coaching side of things, like that's what's really given me a lot of passion for what we're going to do. Yeah. So I wanted to talk a minute about the summit and kind of with what we're doing on it. Appreciate you hosting and having us here, man. Really looking forward to it, having you speak at the event and everything. I mean, we've kind of got a really cool lineup of people that we've got coming in to talk to the different 5 areas. We're really going to focus a lot on young men and women, I don't want to say entrepreneur wise, but young men and women, engineering field professionals, that maybe they have a dream for being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Maybe they've got a dream just to be an entrepreneur. I mean, that's a term that a lot of people have never heard of, but you can be a great entrepreneur inside of a company. But I know you've done a lot of events, and I'd just kind of like to hear your input on, with events like this, and how impactful you've seen them be on people when they come in and they get things that they've never even heard of before.
Well, I mean, I go back to kind of what started my self-development journey was going to an event. It's a coaching clinic. Great Don Meyer, who is here in David Lipscomb. And he said, if you don't read another book this year, go pick up a copy of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. So I just think about that one piece of advice and then me observing, right? Like the first step is to be in a room with other people, be exposed to people doing bigger things. So I went to the bookstore, bought the book, fell in love with it. It changed everything. Okay, so an event is an activation point. That's the way I look at events. People are going on in their life, and they're busy, and they're busy, and they're busy, and they go to an activation event. It's like, boom.
Yep.
It activated something inside of me, right? It stimulated something. I got a dream. I got a vision. It's like, okay, I didn't know that until I heard this person talk about this thing. Or, I used to go to Chicago to Strategic Coach, and I was in a coaching program, and, they were talking about 10 times in the business, right? That's what the exercises we do. And I talked to the guy beside me and I said, man, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm doing, 50 million. I'm trying to do 500 million. I'd be like, man, right? And I was just out of being a basketball coach. And I'm like, you're trying to do $500 million. And yeah, man. And so we'd sit there and do exercises about, okay, structurally, how do you do it?
Did you ask him, did you go, is that profit?
Yeah. I'm like, how many people do you have? How many offices do you have? How many, like, what do you do? And it's like, so the event is an activation point.
Yeah.
That could change the direction of a person's trajectory of where they're going in life.
Yeah, I agree.
They could meet somebody. I've been studying luck. Pritchett wrote a book on luck that it's kind of game of probability. The way you drive up luck is by moving, circulating, getting in rooms with new people, being open to possibility, following up with those people, because you're just one person away from a new season in your life.
Newton's third law.
So it's like that's why you go to events. You don't just go for the speakers. I know the speakers are like, it's like, oh yeah, I want to learn from that dude because he's the best at that.
Yeah.
But really, it's like, I want to meet this person and this person and this person. And when 10X was going on, I bought a ticket to go to the first 10X.
Yeah.
And I was in the audience, and I would see Tim Grover or Tim Story, and I walk up to him and say, Mr. Grover, I'm Coach Burt, high school basketball coach, man. This and this, and you're gonna know me one day.
Which, by the way, Tim Grover now texts you.
Yep.
Like it's
That's right.
nothing.
Now we're good friends.
We were sitting at a meeting the other day, and I think he texted you or something like that. And you're like, man, he's getting a little clingy. No, he did not say that. I'm just kidding.
But it's like, I walked up to him and said, hey, I'm Coach Burt. I'm here. Look forward to seeing you speak. Like your books.
Yeah.
And then the next year, I was speaking at 10X. Right?
Yeah.
And he's like, man, I remember when I met you in that lobby, you told me you were going to do this, right? And now we're friends. But the point is that all happened from an event.
Yeah.
So I look back at my career, and this is why people need to come to this event, because it will activate something inside of them to want to do something bigger, number one. They're going to meet somebody here, number two. Just coming to the Greatness Factory is inspiring. There's not a person that walks in there and doesn't go, now this is cool.
Now, every time I come in, I draw Death Stars and future office spaces that could, I don't know, lift a plan. Listen, every time I come here, I come away with a bunch of notes. But, and to that point, though, the people that have the most impact through them, they act.
Yep.
They come and they act. And so that's great. I think with our first company that we started, Jericho, we didn't have any mentorship. We made a ton of mistakes. Social media got big, and I think that gave me the opportunity to really see what was out there, to your point, because I just didn't know.
Right.
And so I started listening to Andy Frisella.
Okay.
And then joined Arte.
Yep.
Have you heard of Arte?
I have, of course.
Joined Arte, found another group, Win Rate Consulting, which we talked about. But it just completely opened my eyes, and to your point, It's literally like Newton's third law, for every action, there's an equal and opposite
right.
reaction. Hopefully I got that. I know there's another couple other ones. But anyways, with that mind, set, when you just go out and act, it's not about perfection.
Right.
It's just about doing it.
That's right.
And so events like this, they get people out of their comfort zone.
Absolutely. Well, and it's, I've been locked in on a remarkable boldness lately because of all the habits of the top 1% of performers. If you could give your children one habit, the literature says give them grit and resilience.
Yeah.
Okay. But the more I think about it, the people who do big things are remarkably bold.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm talking about the big things.
Right.
Like the big things. So to me, when you go to a conference, some of that rubs off. Some of that rubs off on you, right? Yeah. It's like, man, I got some of your remarkable boldness today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Coach, I really appreciate your time today.
Absolutely.
This has been a blessing sitting down. I look forward to the summit and everything we got going on. And this is truly something special you put together here. And I just can't wait to see what the future has in store for you.
You kind of walked into my life one day. We sat right here at this table. You told me what you were doing, and I was like, man, this dude's doing big things. And you're humble, you're hungry, you're coachable, you're alert, you're constantly sending me ideas. It's like you're in the game, right? And there's an NBO, next big opportunity. So what I'm excited about is undeniable. Is like it's a. I think I told you this one day. I love the concept, and I'm a concept guy.
Yeah.
And it's like I can see this going. You got Undeniable University. You got events. You got these training programs and platforms that people are coming to. You got a market that you're going after.
Yeah.
It's like you're getting clearer and clearer in all of that. And to me, it's like it's gonna solve a real problem in the world.
Yeah, and I mean that's the whole goal. I mean, for us, and this is what Micah and I, my wife, we talk about all the time is with Jericho, and there's a whole story I can go through there. But, with Jericho, it was about survival. It was during 2008. It was about making money. And because I had no idea what real fulfillment is. And so as we've kind of evolved and grown, gotten older and more experienced, with this company, it's about people.
Yeah.
It's about developing people and trying to stay as focused on that as you can. Yep. It's about being strong and courageous like the Bible tells you to. Yep. Joshua 1:6-9, God tells Joshua right after Moses died, he tells him 3 times, be strong and courageous, which means it's a choice. Because we battle fear and scarcity mindsets. So when you focus on your people and you develop your people, it's funny, the money comes.
Right.
You got to have the money for the mission.
That's right.
And it is important.
Yes.
But I look at it more of a indicator now than more of a goal.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the development of people is something that doesn't happen as much in companies because I coach a lot of companies.
It does not.
So trained people always outperform untrained people.
Yeah.
Coach people always outperform uncoached people, right? And coaching is engaging people in a set of systematic behaviors.
Yeah.
That allows them to do something tomorrow they can't do today.
Right.
It's not one time. Training's not something you did one day.
That's
you
right.
don't go to the gym one day.
That's right.
Military doesn't train one day.
That's right.
Right? They train every day. And so we got to get that, I call it going pro, like you're leaving your amateur desires behind and you're really going pro.
Yep.
And that takes a simple decision to cut something off, right, and go pro. And so what you're doing with your ideas is like, all right, I've had these ideas. I've talked about these ideas. I've drawn these ideas up. Now I'm getting it into physical action.
Hey, man, let's rock and roll.
I love it.
Now, I love rocking and rolling.
Yeah,
okay,
I know.
do. And I mean, it's. I mean, listen, what else you can do with your life?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right. I mean, god dang, man. I mean, Micah and I talk about it all the time, and I joke about it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I love our kids. They're the best, but I didn't really start liking them till they were about 10.
Yeah.
And so that's just my personality. So, we joke about it all the time. We're like, how old's Andrew, our youngest? How many years till he's out of the house? Because, I mean, he's gone and I'll be, mid-50s.
Yeah.
Dude, I got a good 50 years left.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a lot of work to do.
Well, so I was telling Natalie this the other day, I'll be 70, almost 70 when Emmeline is our youngest. She's 2.
Yeah.
and I'm 48. So 20 years from today, I'll be 68 and she'll be, 22.
Well, I'm telling you though, man, with the advances and stuff,
Yeah,
70 now, I mean, I'm telling you, 70 won't be the same.
I know. I'm like, we're never going to be empty nesters because I'll be 70 and our kid will she'll just be going to college when I'm 70. But you know what? She keeps me young, and there's nothing like coming home and that 2-year-old come running to you and say, "Daddy's here."
100%.
It's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, our youngest Andrew, he's gotten into golf, and each one of them have their own sport. And I'll tell you what, man, I got to say this real quick. Never growing up, 20s, when you start thinking about marriage and kids, did I ever think I'd have a kid doing breakdancing and golf?
Wow.
But those are his two main things, man.
Wow.
That's what he found. And he's good at them. But, having them live the mission with us and develop with us, maybe come back and work with us is part of the plan as well. And I mean, there's just so much more to do. And so I'm just like, let's get to it. I mean, how much can we get done? When I die one day and I stand before the Lord, he's going to be like, bro, you screwed up a lot.
Yeah.
But man, you did it with all you had.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the goal. That's what I'm trying to instill in my kids. And, I look forward to what the future holds, man, because there's some cool stuff coming. And I think there's a ton of opportunity, especially here in Middle Tennessee with all the people that are moving here, with all the different areas of the country. I think they are absolutely seeking fulfillment.
Yeah.
They don't know what it is. It's kind of like on Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
When they said, just build it and they will come. Yeah. Seriously, and I know that's but seriously, they're looking for something.
Right.
And really, it's that fulfillment that we're talking about that 98% of businesses are not offering to them.
That's right.
So, anyways, Coach, I appreciate all you do.
Yep.
You're a good man.
Thank you.
And I got to give shout out to what you're doing
Good.
here, man.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to what do we got? 25, 30 planned in the future? It's going to be like Orange Theory Fitnesses, right?
That's the plans. Yes.
Yeah. Next one's got to have a gym, though.
I agree.
I think you need to find a good engineering firm to put you a 4th floor on this sucker. They're like a cantilever deck.
If they
we'll
would
put
sell
in a
me
weight room.
they sold me everything that they had left to sell me in this building, and I bought these 3 levels. And I think one place to feed all 4 parts of your nature. Yeah. That's really the vision. That goes back to that body, mind, heart, and spirit. One place to feed all parts of your nature. You work there, you learn there, you grow there, you connect there. Right? Come get a gym, get a shower, you go work. Yeah. You go to events. You don't have to leave. Really, absolutely. That's how I'm think. That's how my mind thinks. So we'll see, but we got plans to definitely take these around the country.
Absolutely. Anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in today. We've been at the Money Lab at Coach Burt's The Greatness Factory. The great thing about this Money Lab is he literally puts $100 bills underneath select chairs. So if you sit down in the right one, you have yourself a nice surprise. So you need to come on down here and check this place out. You can check him out on social media. Coach, do you want to plug in your handle real quick?
Anywhere, Coach Micheal Burt. I'm everywhere, man. Yep. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. Just Coach Micheal Burt. You'll be able to find me. And we believe everybody needs a coach in life.
So do I. Thank you.